Hi everyone, welcome to Woolen Spinning. It is Friday, June 24th, and this is episode 25. I can't believe we're at 25. I feel like that's sort of some marker of something, a quarter of a century or something. But anyways, thank you so much for joining us. If you're a first-time viewer, thank you for checking out Woolen Spinning and everything that's happening over here in this little corner of the internet. And if you're a returning viewer and are part of the greater community, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation and a part of what's going on over here at Woolen Spinning. My name is Rachel. I can be found pretty much everywhere as well for pearls. If you're looking for anything more about this weekly vlog or anything more that's going on at Woolen Spinning, I encourage you to check out wellforpearls.com. We have a Ravelry group, and that is Wool in Spinning. And if you're interested in having more conversation, please join us over there. I wanted to say thank you to everyone who has joined the Ravelry group. We actually just hit 500 members, so that's really amazing. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to talk a little bit towards the end of the show about what is kind of happening at Woolen Spinning and the things that have gone on in the month of June. June was an iteration. It was a chance to sort of see where Well for Pearls and where Woolen Spinning was sort of going. And this is the fourth show of that iteration. And so I am going to do a little bit at the end of the show to talk about sort of where we're going and what has happened with this iteration and the sustainability piece that I was very concerned about. So I encourage you to stick around at the end to hear about that. But I am going to start the show off with a bit of a kickoff to finish the Project Fleece giveaway. This is the third pin from Kathy Thompson of Project Fleece. And it was the Proud Spinster pins. I had 3 of these to give away. And I also had added a little bit of fiber from my drum carder. The monitors are over there. That's why I keep looking over there. This is a new setup that we're trying, and I would love to hear your thoughts. So this was some fiber that I had made on my drum carder. I had done one in purple, one in green, and then one in orange. So the orange one is the giveaway this week. It is the final of the 3. Thank you so much to Kathy of Project Fleece for offering these pins as a giveaway, and then I just threw in the fiber as sort of a little extra. Sorry for the crinkling. So the winner this week is actually Wilma, who has been a very active member of the group. Wilma is always Happy Feet on Ravelry. Wilma is a proud spinner because she loves the choices that are available to her as a spinner. She is located in Canada, so congratulations, Wilma, and I will get that out to you as soon as I can. I'm just looking at my notes because I wanted to mention I have a lot of things to mail out at the end of June, and unfortunately Canada Post is just entering into some escalating job action. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to get everything out in the next week or so, but unfortunately there may be a delay in you actually receiving what I mail to you, as well as I may not actually be able to mail it out. So I will just adjust and send stuff out as I can. So thank you for being patient. All right, let's get into the show. I have a few things to chat about, a few things to show you. I hope that you can laugh along with me about a few things and not at me, but it's kind of a little bit comical. And as most of you who are returning viewers will know, for those who are new, this is a very process-driven show. So I talk a lot about what's happening from fluff to finished yarn and beyond. So I'm not going to be showing a lot of finished objects and stuff in these weekly posts. It's mostly talking about my projects and my whips. So the first one that I thought that I would show you is actually something that I'm knitting. It is the Daybreak Shawl by Stephen West. A lot of people have knit this. It's a really popular pattern on Ravelry. The yarn that I'm using is some singles that I spun back in the winter, and this was Bourbon by Sweet George Yarns. This was on Polworth and Silk, and it's beautiful ochre yellows and tealy blues and gray. And the other singles that I spun was Tumbled Stone from Sweet George Yarns as well, and it was also Polworth and Silk. So together these yarns really worked together. This was wound quite a bit more tightly, but they're very similar in yardage. And what I thought that I would say about this and about this project is you need to knit with your handspun. You really need to knit with your yarns, and I'm laughing at myself, and I hope that you can appreciate my giggles, because this is the back side of the work. So this is the wrong side. So just have a look as I'm showing you. So as you can see, there's all of this happening in multiple spots. So, and this is the front side for those who are interested. I mean, the front side is kind of the prettier side, but this is how it's striping up, and I think it's actually working quite well. I really like the striping detail. I love the slip stitches, but I'm kind of burning out on this project because the rows are getting really long, and I have tinnitus, not tinnitus, tendonitis, sorry, in my wrist, and it flares up every so often, and so doing a lot of purling back actually really aggravates it, and I have to be really careful about how much purling I do. And of course, with these long rows, it's all purling, so it's really aggravating my wrist. So I'm just working on it in really short stints and then putting it aside and working on something else. But what I wanted to say was this, for me, really personifies why we knit with our handspun. It's great to make skein after skein after skein of handspun and throw it into your handspun stash, whatever that is for you, a big bin, a basket, whatever. And to stash it, oh, it's my handspun, it's too special, I don't want to knit with it, I might ruin it, what if I can't rip it out? And we tend to keep stashing our handspun. And the reality is that if you don't knit with your handspun, you don't know how it's going to act. You don't know what those yarn dynamics and the architecture that you put into your yarn in your forethought and your planning, or maybe you didn't plan at all. Maybe you just spun based on what you thought felt good and what the fiber responded to, and how, you know, just sort of one of those soulful spins where the yarn is just what it is at the end and there was no pre-planning. But if you don't knit with your handspun, you don't know, you really don't know. And it's the same for weavers, how your yarn is actually going to act when you actually go to knit with it. So this is a great reason, a great personification of what can happen when you think that you've done this awesome job spinning the yarn, and in actual fact, you didn't put enough twist into it. So this yarn, I fulled it after I finished it, and I talked about that on another episode. And it's still not a super strong yarn. I can rip it very easily. It will fall apart very easily. There's just not enough twist in it. And there are places where it does just fall apart. It's annoying to knit with, I'll be honest. It needed a little bit more twist, but I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't have started knitting with it. So I really encourage you to knit with your handspun. And you think you're onto this great thing, and you think you've spun this awesome yarn, and then you go to knit with it and you're like, oh, this actually isn't that awesome. It's going to make a beautiful shawl. I will wash this shawl in quite hot water and sort of slightly full it a little bit more. I'll be very careful with it so as not to felt it. But this is a great opportunity for me to make some notes, make some reflections, and say, I really need my singles yarns to be a little bit more twisted. There needs to be a little bit more twist in there. So whether that's upping the ratio, upping my feet, decreasing how quickly I'm drafting and allowing that yarn to be picked up onto the bobbin, whatever that looks like, this yarn needed more twist. And because I've already started knitting with it, I'm not going to stop and put it back through the wheel. I'm just going to write down those reflections for next time. So that is a great lesson in and of itself, to remind ourselves that you really don't know how your yarns are going to act until you work with them. So sort of humbling for me. And I do love the colors, and I am really enjoying it. And I'm excited to continue to work on that. But like I said, I can't work on it a ton because of the purling. Let's see, what else am I working on? I'm working on my crossbreed. So for those of you who are with me in episode 24, you'll remember that I had mentioned about all of my shacked flyers being sent off to Shacked Spindle Company in Boulder, Colorado. They are off. They've been shipped and mailed. So I don't have any of my shacked wheels. So my matchless is out of commission right now, and so is my sidekick. So I have been working away on my crossbreed. This is a local blend that I bought from Brooklyn Brothers, which is local to me. It's just a beautiful heathered, I showed this last time, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but it's a roving, they do it themselves, and it's beautiful prep. I am just obsessed with this spin. I did do a sample card, and I did do a sample card, and the bottom is actually the three ply that I just pulled off. So I don't have a ton of bobbins right now for my Lendrum. They're caught up in other projects, which was really poor planning considering I had to send my flyers for my shacked wheels off to shacked. So this is what the yarn came out as, and it's quite, it's not as high twist as I wanted it to be. So I'm actually going to send it back through my wheel and put a little bit more twist in it so that the twist will go from looking like this to being more like this. Does that make sense? So basically, it'll just tighten it up a little bit, and I'll put it back through. I plied this after night shift. I was really tired. I'd had a really tough night, which is why I couldn't go to sleep right away. I was just processing everything that had happened, and I underplied it because I kept kind of zoning out. So great reminder that it's totally fine to ply when you're feeling that way, and it's meditative and it's relaxing and so on and so forth. But I did wind this into a center pull ball after I'd rested it for a day so that I can actually put it back through the wheel and tighten up that twist. So good reminder. I'm also obsessed with this spin because I kind of fell down a Ravelry link hole the other night. And somebody that I follow on Ravelry who, her stuff comes up in my friend's feed quite often, and I really love seeing what she's working on. We've knit a lot of the same sweaters. And this was originally going to be a sweater by Anne Hansen, but I saw Michelle's version of another sweater pattern, and I'm going to pull it up and show you because it's something that I think a lot of us have seen and probably looked past. And I can't stop thinking about it. I am just obsessed with it. And it is Lemongrass by Joji Locatelli. This is not at all what I would normally want to knit. This is not a shape that I normally wear. This is not a sweater I would normally wear. I'm obsessed. So I'm giving the yarn. You guys are going to laugh at me. You can laugh at me this time. I won't be hurt. I'm giving the yarn as I finish it to my husband so that I don't do a complete spinner's faux pas. I'm already plying it before I've gotten all of my singles finished. So I've already broken universal spinning rule number 1. But I actually am giving him the yarn so that I don't cast it on before I actually finish all of the yarn. So I wanted to cast it on that badly. So I'm dying to get this finished. This is my Tour de Fleece project. And the reason why I'm working on it now is actually because I have a few things coming up in the pipeline in July and August that are going to be deadline spins, and I really need to get that stuff done and focus on it. So while this is my Tour de Fleece spin, I have already started it. I've got 2 pounds to spin. I am going to stop spinning when I get to 1,400 yards because if I have enough fiber left over, I need 1,400 yards for that sweater. And if I save the rest of the roving, I actually would like to do something else with it. So once I get to 1,400 yards, I'm going to stop spinning. So I am plying that as I go, and it's because I don't have bobbins, and I don't have bobbins. So that is that. And I'm obsessed with that sweater. All I can think about is that sweater. It's called Lemongrass by Joji Locatelli. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. And the last thing that I thought I would show you, actually no, I think I'll show you 2 more things. We've got time. I'm in a new setup. I think I mentioned that, and I'm just getting my bearings. So as the weeks go by, it'll get better and better. So this is the Vermont sweater, and actually I can't name, it's by Hannah something, and I just can't remember her last name. And I'm in the middle of a row, so it's like the worst time to show you. But I did post this on Instagram, I think. This is my Zero to Hero spackle sweater. And for those of you who aren't familiar with our Zero to Hero spackle, I really encourage you to go check out the Ravelry group. So I'm going to hold this back a little bit so you can see this. So this is my Falkland that I was spinning back in the new year, I guess. It was part of my Spin the Bin. And it's very tweedy. It's quite neppy. It's got lovely color and depth. It looks brown because all of the colors of the rainbow, if you will, are in here. And they're all blended together on a drum carder, and then they were sold in these big long strips of roving. This textured stitch is called the tulle stitch, I think, and it really does the yarn justice, and I'm really liking what it looks like knit up. And the stockinette is actually quite lovely as well. It's lumpy and bumpy, but I think like when I pull it out and when I kind of manipulate it a little bit, it smooths out, and I think when I wash it and block it, it'll actually be quite lovely. I am modifying the pattern quite significantly, and I will talk about that more as I go. So that's the other thing that I'm working on, and that's the Vermont sweater. And it's in my projects page on Ravelry, so you can look at the links there if you're interested in learning more about this sweater. And for those who don't remember what this yarn looked like, this is my wound cake. I was working on this forever. You guys will remember me talking about it if you're a returning viewer. So I won't go on and on about it because I have lots of opinions. And I think I'll talk about it at a later time as sort of like a summary of the entire project and a reflections on the whole project. So that is that sweater. And then I actually started a new spin. So this is my spindling bag that I take with me everywhere. I think I've talked about it before. It's waterproof. And so I have that spin going, and I'll talk about that in just a sec. So in this lovely little bag are two Turkish spindle turtles, cops, if you will. There's lots of different terminology for that, for what these are when you pull them off. Sorry for the crinkling. I'll move away from the mic and then it won't be as bad. So this is what they look like when they come off the Turkish spindle. And I just have to wind my plying ball, and then I'll be able to ply. And this is the last 50 grams of 200 grams of this fiber. This was a superwash BFL from Smith & U up in Kamloops, British Columbia. And this is I'm almost done this spin. Like I'm like this close because I just have to do my plying ball, and then I'll be able to ply it, and this spin will be done. So I've already plied the first 150 grams, and I just pulled this off yesterday actually. And I just love this yarn. You know, sometimes you have those spins where you're kind of, oh yeah, that's nice, and you sort of move on to the next thing. But for some reason, this spin and this yarn has just been heavenly. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just been really, really fun to make and to do. And I've been doing this on my large Kapar spindle, which is probably my favorite spindle that I own. And it looks like this. I've shown it before. It's from Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is in Canada, obviously. And it's a 30-gram large spindle. It's from Natural Knotwood Designs on Ravelry. And it's just a beautiful spindle. It just spins beautifully. And it's heavy and it's slow, and I just love it. Anyways, so that's what I've been doing with this spin. Sorry for the clicking from the spindle. And yeah, that's the yarn. So really lovely. And then the other spindle project that I just started, I actually started it today. I received the fiber today, which is really unusual for me. This is Boardwalk, which was the fiber club for this month from Nest Fiber Studio. And for some reason I saw it and I just wanted to spin it right away. So I am. So I actually picked up my Hound Design spindle, and I'm hoping for a worsted weight yarn when I finish. And it's Polworth, organic Polworth, so it'll really poof up after it gets washed. And I'm actually hoping for a toque. I as soon as I saw this, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it. So it's going to be a traditional 2-ply, and I'm just going to spin it in 25-gram bumps, and then I'll wind them off onto plying balls, and I'll do a toque. So that's on my Hound Design standard spindle, and unfortunately he's local to me here just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, but he actually isn't making spindles anymore, which is too bad because they're wonderful tools to work with. So that's all my projects. I feel like it's a lot, but it's because I have knitting stuff on the go right now, and for a long time there I was sort of between knitting projects, so it feels good to have the knitting back on the needles and to be doing that again, so because I love knitting. I love spinning, but I love knitting too, so it's good. All right, I want to talk a little bit about the show. So as you know, in June, I had done this iteration of 4 shows, and I wanted to see sort of what it would all look like. And throughout the month, I've been slowly releasing things as I go. And we're coming towards the end of June and towards the end of the month, and we're going to be moving into July. We've got Tour de Fleece to look forward to, and there's a great team assembled for that. People have been chatting it up on the Slack channel. It's been really, really fun over there. And lots of chatter in the Ravelry group. People are working on their spackle, on their Zero to Hero spackle. It's just been awesome to see that momentum and see that happening. So with the thanks and the support and help of Patreon, the show will continue. It feels like it's a sustainable format. It feels like this is a sustainable aspect of my life. And my husband and I were actually reflecting the other night that it just feels like it's really been a very organic process throughout June, even though it's been crazy for other reasons, but in a good way. So I wanted to formally make the announcement that Wool and Spinning as a weekly vlog will continue indefinitely, and I wanted to thank those who have supported the show already, and those who are continuing to support the show, how much that means to me. So thank you so much. I will chat with you next week, I guess. So have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful week. And I will actually be chatting with you on Canada Day, which is July 1st. So until then, happy spinning and happy knitting. Bye.